Why is there a harbor seal walking around the office?
Oh, that's our new CEO.
Come again?
Well, apparently they didn't order through EasyCater for the board meeting, and when the food didn't arrive, they kind of lost focus. Next thing you know...
We have a seal as our CEO. Did I say something wrong?
No, she just wants a mackerel. Here you go.
Bad ideas happen when there's no food for the meeting. So make sure it's on time and as ordered from more than 80,000 restaurants. How? EasyCater.
Thank you. I just got promoted.
Order 24/7 on EasyCater.com.
Odyssey now has hundreds of new exclusive music stations for you to discover your new summer soundtrack.
Get moving with worthy workouts for a cardio sesh fueled by today's top artists.
Hanging with your crew? Throw it back with Picnic Party for old school jams for your cookout.
Or sail away with Odyssey's new yacht rock station, Jugger Yacht.
There are hundreds of new exclusive stations to check out today.
For summer barbecues,
road trips,
or relaxing poolside.
For every mood, every interest, every passion. By Odyssey. Brought to you in part by Macy's and Geico.
You know them from the Greg Hill Morning Show.
Ken and others
are acting like straight bitches.
I'm not sure who Ken is. Curtis, your one-liners suck.
Or the morning show before that.
Next, you hear from Jerry, who says, but.
We have many arrangements for that, Lumpy.
And you definitely hate one of them.
That is Ken Laird.
At least. Yeah. It's the Ken and Curtis Show.
Ken and Curtis aren't adults.
On Sports Radio WEEI.
Good weekend.
Well, it actually is going to be a good weekend. I want to start with weather talk, Curtis, but it's
gorgeous.
We are turning a corner. New normal. Except Marty's not out of office until Monday, so Greg's saying no new normal until that.
The weather here sucks, but there's no better place in the world on a nice day.
Now, still recovering from the Tangway experience, you and I, from Thursday and Friday on the Greg Hill Morning Show. What a tornado that was.
The reaction I got from friends and family, my mom called me last night. She's like, Chris, what was his obsession with the penis talk?
Well, that's exactly what Greg said when he called us yesterday. He had, some listener had counted 35 mentions of the P word.
Oh, my God. It was, I don't know, maybe because it literally feels like a roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
Where we generally like to have some form of control of the Greg Hill Show and sort of input in where we're going. When Tangway hosts, you just hold on.
Yeah, we skipped the leads both days. Skipped all our features for that matter. Buzzed through news at 7:45. He may not be made for mornings. Dakota and Braintree did like a review of this longtime sports radio caller, friend of the show, yesterday, and I kind of agree with him. I thought it was great, and it was totally different, of course, from anything that we do normally with Greg. They're complete polar opposites. But maybe, as Dakota said, maybe he's just not made for mornings. I certainly wasn't. Thursday morning, I was like blown out of the chair. I felt like Castig on that Benintendi catch, you know? I was like, whoa.
He went into directions that I mean, you and I both love the guy. I mean, in my opinion, you can't not love him. He's a true original.
You cannot love him. I would say 50% of the reaction, if not more, is pure hatred.
I mean,
got it!
I'm awake. No, my opinion is that if you know Gary, you can't hate him.
Okay. Fair enough. I can't say that I know anybody that knows Gary that hates him, but in terms of the reaction, it was, what you want, I guess, 50-50 on either side. That plus we announced that Trenny is coming in Friday for a sit-in in the Danielle Murr auditions. And the reaction from that, we would go like 2 hours talking Patriots and get calls about Trenny out of nowhere and just be like, don't put Trenny on the air.
It is amazing. And the texts are also, you have the Greg Hill Show audience that was big that came to EEI, and they despised the 2 days of Tangway. I mean, they were, what the hell's going on?
Oh, Derek, the Steelers fan, liked him, I think.
Really? I thought he hated him because he hung out with him quickly.
He liked Trenny. I'm sorry. I'm getting confused.
Yeah.
Anyway.
35, 36, 37.
And I really do believe that he has a place at some point at this radio station, but he is just a force of nature, I guess. And then when you have he and Wiggy, neither of which concerning themselves at all with what's coming out of their mouth, it is just a dumpster fire.
Wiggy did like 60-second deep dive on massages he's had at Massage Envy and how they work on his buttocks and his glutes. I mean, so it was...
And then he goes commando and is ready to go. Could you imagine walking in and you see Wiggy on a table saying, get deep into my glutes?
So what's the big story this morning? Is it Celtics hatred off last night? Is it Belichick and pulling off this unbelievable, unexpected week, which even Volan, who's in with us at noon, we have Volan's predictions for how the week was going to go last Saturday. Volan has been on a good streak. Until then, he predicted like they would sign some B-level receiver, and that was it.
Right.
They signed 12 guys, and they have a whole new team. Or is it Watson, the big story, with a lawyer speaking yesterday, I mean, Tangway is obsessed with this story, and it does have a definite Patriots tie-in because it's the domino effect. I think you believe, and I do, that Belichick is interested in Watson, possibly.
Yep.
He's interested in Jimmy G, possibly. But Jimmy G doesn't come loose if Watson doesn't get traded, I don't think, unless Darnold is the key to it all, or something in the draft goes bananas for the Niners and they go up and get their quarterback that way.
Well, since we last spoke on the show, in my opinion, get morality, I'm not talking about that at all. But everything that's happened has been in the process of making Deshaun Watson coming here slightly more likable. I mean, slightly more likely to happen because you had the Patriots spend $200+ million in free agency.
Yep.
This is a team that clearly, with Belichick, does not want any long rebuild. He wants to get to Shula. He wants to beat Brady. Whatever his incentive is.
Great point. That was on display fully this week, right?
Right.
Belichick's in it for one final swing.
Well,
couple final rounds.
Do you know why that was so obvious this week? Because Michael Lombardi's first words in his column was that this has nothing to do with Brady. It's like clearly, your Bobo is saying that on purpose. So in my opinion, this was, we are back, we are here, put us on prime time, get ready for Brady, we're coming for you.
Stick with us.
Stick with us.
The original message.
And so on top of that, you have the incredibly bad situations surrounding the Texans, their toxic relationship with Deshaun Watson, and now Deshaun Watson's 12+ women with this attorney, Tony Busby, alleging some form of sexual misconduct. So that means, in my opinion, that he is less likely to remain a Texan because the organization already was pretty fed up with his antics. And that would mean that if Nick Caserio is going to get any form of a deal, who does Nick Caserio, what roster do you think Nick Caserio knows better than any in the NFL?
Patriots, of course.
So he works with Belichick. He's like,
he's already traded for Izzo and Cannon and signed he signed Izzo, traded for Cannon. Sorry.
And so, in my opinion, you have someone like Caserio who knows a guy or two that he can get out of the Patriots. He and Belichick have a good working relationship, and it looks like it's untenable for Deshaun in Houston.
But not according to the guy we had on, Aaron Wilson from the Houston Chronicle, in another bizarre interview where the guy was sleepy, but I'm telling you, he was dropping bombshells. We just had it on the replay coming in. And, he obviously was tied into Deshaun's camp. He made that clear. But he's also tied into ownership. And here's the incongruency I don't get. Is this a hit job? Is Busby tied into the owners or not? Like, he says that's ridiculous. But this guy, Tony Busby, the lawyer who had the press conference yesterday, is a Texans fan. At least he paid for a billboard encouraging them to draft Johnny Manziel in 2014. He lives near the McNair family. And at one point yesterday, stumbled when asked about that. He said he wouldn't recognize Cal or whatever his name is if he saw him in the streets. That is a bold-faced lie.
Well, this is one of the most interesting elements of the story. It's the media reaction to it, where I believe if this is Tom Brady, if this is basically 99% of any franchise across the league, then the story is the 12 women. It's not the attorney bringing the charges.
And by the way, it's more than 12. It's actually 7 who have officially accused. He said he intends to file 5 more, but he's met with 10 more than that. Right. So it could be up to 22.
So this is a situation where in any other walk of life, if Deshaun Watson hosted the Today Show, or if Deshaun Watson worked for Channel 7, whatever, he'd be on a paid leave right now, gone. It's effectively that because there's no games anyway.
No games. Yep.
But months ago, on a totally different topic, Deshaun Watson signed a contract extension that was historic. At the press conference, he said, I'm going to do whatever I can to make this organization reap the benefits of signing me to this deal. He was crying, saying how grateful he was.
We played some of the audio, and it is amazing to hear that.
So you have a guy who is not living up to a contract months after signing it, is now alleged to have double-digit accusers of sexual misconduct. And Florio's story at 1 a.m. last night was Tony Busby may be dishonest about his relationship with Cal McNair. Like, are you kidding me?
Well, that is part of it. It's a character assessment of the lawyer who's throwing this together. That's an important feature of the story. Nobody's saying that these women should be ignored, but if the guy's like lying through his teeth, like here's the cut about the McNair family.
And I need to dispel some silly rumors. Yes, I live on River Oaks Boulevard, and I live near the McNair family. I don't know the McNair family. I wouldn't recognize Cal or Hal, whatever his name is, if I saw him on the street. case has nothing to do with the Texans.
Cal or
has
Hal?
nothing to do with free agency, the timing. I don't know anything about that silliness, and I frankly don't care about it. Texans are not a team that I follow.
Not a team that he
This case
follows.
is instead about women,
Okay,
brave
good.
women.
That's good. But not a team that he follows, but he bought a billboard 6 years ago for them to draft a certain quarterback. Cal or Hal, who lives near me, doesn't know his name, doesn't know his face, also lied to the Houston Police Department saying they reached out to him, and he intends to send a package of info. Houston Police says they've not had contact with this guy.
Okay.
So how is that not part of the story?
Bradford, get this surfaced right now. Ambulance chasing lawyer has poor morals, no character. Like, hello, that's who those people are. They chase people who have had some sort of issue in their life, and he profits off of it. So, yes, he's not a great guy. He clearly is lying through his teeth. But in my opinion, that's part of that job. You sell your soul when you're doing what he's doing, in my opinion. And so, but the story here, Tony Busby is not relevant to the NFL. Deshaun Watson is the story. And in the Me Too movement, I thought we believe all women, we listen, we try and understand, yet all that woke media is now attacking an attorney instead of discussing the victims, allegedly.
Well, we'd like to discuss
Watson.
the victims, but they're not coming forward to police.
Well, did you hear the attorney that his assistant, I think she was an attorney as well, at the press conference reading some of these allegations that were told to her? I mean,
yeah,
that's not the story this morning.
They're so severe, they should have gone to the police with this stuff. Don't you agree?
But you're missing that's totally not relevant to the conversation. Their decision and the alleged victim's decision not to go to the police. If you look through history, do you want to see what Kobe Bryant's accuser had to deal with? Women in those situations are petrified. And you see what the media is doing to them. So,
yes.
But I just don't understand why the story this morning.
It's just so sensational. This guy's holding a press conference. The fact that he's doing that in and of itself, it's just bizarre. I mean,
do you remember when Kevin Spacey, there was an attorney locally, I can't remember his last name, but he's a very famous local attorney, and the daughter of the son of Heather Unruh was one of the alleged victims. Mm-hmm. He sat there, went through, it was very similar. It was a press conference. Kevin Spacey's a public figure, and they wanted to get their story out. And that happens. Nobody, I don't think, was ripping the attorney or the child of the news reporter in Boston. They were ripping Kevin Spacey. But in this case, you have a press conference because guess what, Ken? There's a lot of media that's interested in the story, and he is sensational, dishonest, and seems not credible. Yep.
Well, both are true, yes.
Right, all that's true.
But, but the sensationalistic part of it, I don't remember for the Unruh case. I don't remember all this stuff attached to her attorney, and this is like one woman, then another woman the next day. Then it's very tactically done. It's planned out. It seems to be a PR stunt from a lot of angles. I'm not saying these women don't have a case and the guy's not a creep. I mean, who knows that at this point? It's been handled very poorly from his side of it, or in a manner that makes you question the whole thing. And then we had the guy on from Houston yesterday who's saying he had it on good authority that he called it terroristic threats or extortion. That
they don't negotiate with terrorists in talking about how they're handling the alleged victims.
So it's about the money. Like he's saying they were asking for money, then they kept asking for more money. And this guy Busby said flat out yesterday in the press conference, well, it's not about money. This is about female empowerment. I think if it's a civil case, we know it's about the money.
But you and I followed this. We're not going to get into politics, but Trump was full of bluster when he wasn't under oath, when it came to the election situation and the ballots and all that. When all these people were under oath, all their stories failed because they didn't have any evidence to back up their claims. So they went away.
Yep.
He's no longer president, whatever. You have in this situation, in my opinion, according to Aaron Wilson and others that have covered this story, a clear extortion attempt by these women who were seeking money in private and then brought their story public. So if these women are all wrong, as his agent said, people that are sexual abusers and offenders belong in jail, but they're also people that try and get money off of lies. So if that's the case, if that's what his agent really feels, don't worry about Tony Busby. Bring that with Rusty Hardin, file an extortion claim, and then go on. But the fact that they haven't done that leads me to believe that they are not being honest either.
Well, they're going to wait for all the accusers now. I mean, you have to wait till it's officially all in, don't you?
No, you stem the tide. But it's amazing, though. The media is doing their job for them. Mike Florio is a former attorney. He carries a lot of weight in the NFL. And he's saying not that this is despicable, that there's been a dozen plus women who allege sexual misconduct. It's that his attorney...
If it's all a lie, then how can you start to wage an opinion on the despicable nature of it?
What's all a lie?
if this is all a cash grab from women who, if Deshaun Watson's innocent, which we don't know, that's what we're talking about. Is this to be taken seriously or not?
Right, and I'm saying if he's innocent and these women are extorting him, then he should do something about that instead of having his bobos across. What's he waiting for?
I think Rusty Hart and his lawyers said they're waiting for all the evidence to review all the case, all the accusers' comments, and they're going to address it. Because even this is intentional from Busby. More stuff is coming out by the day. So the minute you respond to one allegation, you have 10 more now. 15 more.
But I think if I'm Deshaun Watson, I want to, as you heard, I think Tangway made the point yesterday that where is the person filing a reverse claim that Tangway said that Deshaun Watson should sue them.
Yeah, he should
for damages for slander.
If it's not true. Yes.
And we haven't seen that, and I haven't heard that reported anywhere that that's something they're even contemplating. The first time I heard about
anything.
Well, they did. His agent tweeted that yesterday, and Deshaun Watson said these were all untrue.
But that was like Tuesday, right? We haven't heard from Watson since Tuesday.
His agent yesterday.
Harden said something yesterday?
No. His agent, David Mugoleta or something, he tweeted out this tweet that said, sexual assault is awful and wrong. The people that do that belong in jail. And then in the next paragraph, he said that there are also a lot of people that like to profit off the name of celebrities by lying about certain things. Those people deserve to be punished as well. That was his point yesterday.
Well, we can agree on this. Watson's not going to be traded anytime soon, correct?
That's correct, yeah.
So this definitely slows down the whole domino process if you're just a football fan and you're just wondering where Watson's going to go play. Because in the end, I don't know how you feel. If this is just stays civil and doesn't get to a criminal case, Watson's going to play football this year. He might be put on a commissioner's exempt list. His reputation is damaged for sure, but some NFL team is going to want him to play. If it's not Houston, then they'll trade him somewhere and he'll play football in 2021.
Right, and back to the football side, this is good for the Patriots because they can wait as long as they want. They have Stidham and Newton, and that'll be their, in my opinion, that's not enough, but they're okay with that. They have plenty of cap space, and they have a great working relationship with the guy in charge of Houston. So what I thought was an absolute joke, if you asked me that a week from today, a week ago, now I think that of any team in the NFL, if I had to put the favorite, if he's going to get moved, I'd say the Patriots are the favorite to land him.
Wow. That is stunning. So you don't think the Kraft stuff gets in the way? Because a lot of people bring that up right away. And the fact that was Tangway's point, right? There's no way the Krafts would sign him based on the association, the connection, whatever, the reputation, the PR hit. In
my opinion, if these allegations have any truth to them, he's not moving. He's going to be suspended. So
if there's hard evidence that connects him with this, then is he out of the league?
Not out of the league, but a
year suspension, something like that.
I think the NFL, if that's the case, there's nobody trading for him, especially in this era.
Right.
And I think that he just is, Houston just sucks next year like they were going to anyway. But if this is in any way, shape, or form cleared up or solved with leaving Deshaun Watson as just sort of guilty of, reading the wrong messages from a woman, I don't even know what he could say, but if he's okay with this, he's unscathed legally, then the Patriots are sitting there saying, okay, what do you want to do?
What were the results of our poll yesterday? This is when Watson's reputation is at its, I don't want to say its lowest because there are going to be more accusers come out here. But it was 60% still approve of the Patriots trading for him.
So yesterday, it was, do you want Deshaun Watson to be the Patriots quarterback next season? And this was in the middle of 12 new allegations. Mm-hmm. Yes, 60% with about 1,500 votes. So that is, and we did this last year with the Antonio Brown, or 2 years ago with Antonio Brown, where we asked the audience on the Greg Hill Show, do you want Antonio Brown when he was still with the Raiders with the frozen foot? And it was 80-20 no. And then they signed him. It was 80-20 yes. So it's going to happen like that if he's cleared. But I thought as a society and as a media that we were at least, paying a little bit more attention to these allegations, taking them a little bit more seriously than we had been in the past. And yet Deshaun Watson is he must be the greatest quote, must be the nicest guy, because from coast to coast, he is being defended, and the attorney for the alleged victims is now the real bad guy, according to the media.
Well, if he is an ambulance chaser, and even you admit that appears to be who he is, that's going to work against him. That's just by its very nature. You feel like he's chasing ambulances to get more people. It's more of a volume than it is a quality of evidence, at least that we've seen so far. It's overwhelming. It really is.
He is the worst combination. He is ambulance-chasing politician. Failed politician.
Yeah, he tried to be the mayor, right?
Right. So look at the suit he had on. He's just as slippery as it gets. I don't disagree with that, but
so how can you not write about that? If you're a former lawyer like Mike Florio, why wouldn't you call into question some of the things he said and just his overall demeanor?
Because in my opinion, Mike Florio knows that these people exist in every corner of the country. That's the job. You're kind of slimy. Somebody gets a car accident, you give them your card, and you say, let's sue the other driver.
You don't have to be this slimy about it. If there's some substantiality to the cases, then just tell the truth. I mean, then everything's on your side.
In my opinion, they've publicly filed these lawsuits. They're out there. It's their word is documented in a civil lawsuit.
Yeah, and 6 of the 7 accused Deshaun Watson of inappropriately touching women with his unit. And some of them have even worse descriptions. I don't want to get into the whole Tangway rundown yesterday because for the last 2 days we've been all bombarded by it. Well, the bottom line is, do you see a scenario where the Patriots get Deshaun Watson? Like percent chance? Is that what we want to gauge on? Like, could you see it happening? Has this week increased the chances that Deshaun Watson is traded to New England at some point over the next couple months? 617-779-7937.
I think, do you think this can happen, and would you want it to happen?
And a lot of that depends on how this case goes, because it won't happen for the next... And the timing of it now is really interesting, because the draft's late April. So we have 5 weeks left. So will it be resolved in any form by then? Would Watson be... Is that what Busby's intention is, to get it out now because that's the deadline? Teams that want to trade for Watson have to do so before the draft because they have to make a decision. Am I going to pay assets to go up and get Justin Fields or Trey Lance, or am I going to send all my draft capital to the Texans for Deshaun Watson? In that sense, he's pressured to settle out of court and make all this go away.
Yeah, I don't know the legalese, but that seems to make sense that he would want to have this resolved before the draft, maybe a week or two before the draft, so that he can be out there, do a couple interviews with fawning media, and then get moved by the draft. But I do think this week also, the other big story that we touched on is that Belichick is dead set on rebuilding his image. He wants to beat Brady. He wants his team to be successful. And the thing that's just stupid is that if Brady applied the same work ethic he did in Tampa last year, and if Belichick applied the same urgency to win, they might
want another one.
Right. Why did it require each to leave for both to do what the other wanted?
And you almost gave Belichick credit this week. I mean, I think you actually did give him credit. You have been the biggest Belichick hater in the area. That now Tangway has surpassed you, and it's not even close. I mean, Tangway thinks they did nothing all week. You actually loved the Jonnu Smith signing.
I'm like Gary. You can't argue facts. I mean, they made several great acquisitions, and they both. I think it's so true. If both did what they are doing now while they were together, they would have never needed to separate.
Well, especially Brady, as you know, that's my feeling on it. If you look at the amount less that he's taken this year, what's his cap hit? $9 million?
Yes.
And last year he made top 10 money, even cap hit in the league, to play for one season. He took more. Now he's back to his old ways. But for whatever reason, he was not going to do that, and Belichick was up against the cap, could only afford what Dale said it was $14 million, and it became a money crunch. And Belichick decided that I'm going to have a reset year, and I'm going to take all that money after a year off, and I'm going to spend it on a new team, which he has done this week. So he had a plan. Well, and you said he had no plan. This was his plan.
What? Now you're making an ass of yourself. So this year he turned into Brian Cashman, who, do we say that Brian Cashman's the best GM in baseball?
Well, but you have to collect the money. I mean, at some point, and in fact, the Red Sox sort of did this as well, right? They just decided we need to bite the bullet and get under the luxury tax for a couple years.
My entire life, the Yankees signed the top free agent on the market. It wasn't brilliant baseball management. It was that he was just going to sign the best players. And this year,
well, see, now you're sounding like Tangway. We have that audio, Nick. This is Tango from yesterday with he pretty much zero credit given.
So everybody's giving credit because he went out and he did the obvious. Do you have to be a genius to give Judon, to give Smith and Henry money? You don't have to be a genius to do that. Do you have to be a genius to spend $68 million?
But
a lot of GMs could have done what Belichick did.
You got those two guys.
I understand, but they had the money to do it.
But they've had money in the past. Why
not like this?
What?
They've never had $60 million in cap money.
They've had plenty of money
not
to get
like
free agents. Plenty of money.
Bill Belichick did the obvious. Any other GM could have done what Bill did.
So you knew Bill was going to do this?
I didn't.
You sound just like Tangway.
Well, I think he's done a great job of rebuilding this team this week. Anybody who says they're not a drastically better team today than they were last Saturday is full of crap. They are. But I think that,
But he deserves no credit. He's just Brian Cashman spending money.
Well, I mean, he is. He is. I mean, what does it take? Do you think Matthew Judon, I think he said in his quote that
you mocked people that said Cam Newton was going to be an enticement to bring free agents here.
He wasn't.
You totally trashed it. Of course he was.
Who is he?
He was on the roster, and they brought in several receiving targets.
Right.
4 pass catchers. Do you think they would have came here without Cam Newton?
What was the second closest bidder to Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry?
Well, we don't know that.
So do you think that they were paid at the top of the market?
Yeah. I mean, they're can't hard argue that. They're 2 of the top 4 paid tight ends in the league, right?
So, I mean, he paid tight ends at the top of the market, and they signed here.
But they could have signed. Were there no other suitors for tight ends? I mean, the Bills had Gronk in for a visit, so they wanted a tight end. So,
right. That was a 1-year, $10 million deal that he.
So you say nobody would have given Jonnu Smith 4 years, $50 million?
No. I think if they signed and took less, then that would have been the story. Like David Andrews took less
to stay
here.
Yep.
And I think that was. I think Cam Newton had a role in that. I think David Andrews liked playing with him. Whatever. I don't know if you know. I don't know anything about that, but he wanted to stay with his line. And the fact that they brought that entire line back in the absence of Joe Thuney is pretty impressive.
I don't know, but the fact that Hunter Henry said at one point, I'm not going to play for a team that doesn't have a quarterback, and then he signs here. I mean, I had written that totally out. That was a stunner. Hunter Henry signs after you sign already a big high-priced ticket, Jonnu Smith on day 1, and he had said he's not going anywhere with a subpar quarterback, and then he comes. That's Belichick credit. You got to give him some credit there. So I guess that's topic B. How much credit does Belichick deserve for the week? What kind of a job did he do with free agency? We'll get into some of the signings, the decisions. And we got to get to Brad Stevens at some point. We will have a guest on at 11. This might have been a juicier guest, Curtis, if he had not come out and addressed it yesterday.
Yes.
But an Indiana Pacers reporter, Scott Agnes, can tell us how close it got. And I would say there are some people who don't think that it's off the table, right? I mean, Stevens could still leave at some point. It would be now a true stunner.
Do you know why everybody thinks he's going to go there? Because it makes sense. He can't coach big ego guys. If you can't coach big ego guys, you're not winning a championship in the NBA. And he's overachieved here. He
hasn't. I mean, the 2 teams that mattered the most this year and the Kyrie year, he's underachieved.
I mean, since he got here, the 8 years as a whole, I think would be looked at as a success.
Like the expectations in 2013 when they signed him?
Yes. I think people would have signed up for 4 conference finals, that the team rebuilt, that they got the most out of young players.
I guess.
I think that he would leave here with no ill will from Boston sports fans.
I disagree on that. But
you think if he left to go to the Indiana, people here would be mad at him?
Especially now. Especially when you come out and drop the Dunkin' Donuts. I mean, that would stick. Can you see that? Like, yes. if he leaves Monday, now that he said, I'm a mass hole and I go to Dunkin' Donuts?
Ken, you're too good of a...
That would be a 20-year clip in sports radio. We'd be playing that like the Patino clip.
You are too good of a guy. You think everybody's honest. NBA coaches are not honest.
Well, but that's Brad Stevens' character. People think he's an honest guy that tells the truth. If you come out and say that, I'm not going anywhere, and then leave, that would be a major story.
I mean, Kyrie
thoughts on that. We got to get the trending. And then we'll get the calls. 617-779-793. Sorry, it's 2 days of Tangway. I'm cutting people off. Let's get the trending.
Back to more of the Ken and Curtis Show on EEI.
And here's what you should know. This case isn't about money. If you look at the pleadings that we filed carefully, we have pled the jurisdictional minimums. In the state of Texas, the jurisdictional minimum in state district court is $500. The case ain't about money. And it's certainly not about seeking publicity or fame. I personally don't need it, and these women don't want it. This case is about female empowerment, taking the power back.
Okay, not about money. That is Tony Busby.
All right.
Curtis would like you to ignore that he said that. It's not about the lawyer at all.
Nick, I would not like to play any more sound of him today. Thank you.
You got to love this text from a 508 texter. The reason why some lawyers chase ambulances is because the people who are in them have been injured by a person who caused those injuries and are entitled to be compensated.
Yeah, and then you take 30%.
I mean, as you said, it's an ambulance chaser defending an ambulance chaser.
Right. I mean, that's Larry the lawyer checking in from Vegas.
Watson or a rookie quarterback? What, as a Pats fan, now maybe there's not enough information in yet to make this choice, but let's say we're in the same situation a month from now as the draft's coming. Would you save some of the capital for the chance to get Watson, or do you just have to forget about him now? but like that he is so good. Like I understand if he's guilty of this, he's out of the league, and you kind of have to wait for that evidence to come forth. But how do you know the timeline of the civil case? Let's say like Watson fights back. Could this go all year, all off season?
I honestly I don't know enough to comment on that. I think the biggest issue here is that the Texans are going to have a much smaller pool of candidates to trade Watson to because of this. I think that there are teams that are going to have to, like the Jets or the 49ers or other teams that are just going to have to plan ahead, Dolphins. But if the Patriots had the 5th instead of the 15th pick, I would say this would be a crisis point because you have the chance in the capital to get one of these top guys. And if you really like them, then you're stuck. Do we want what we know to be a top 5 NFL quarterback for the next 12 years?
Right, Zach Wilson, whatever.
Right. Or do we want to bite the bullet and get a guy that's ready-made to lead this team potentially to a Super Bowl?
But the dream for Belichick, like forget about all this off-the-field stuff. With what he did this week, the dream is Deshaun Watson.
Absolutely.
Right? That would be stunning.
And that's why they made that move Friday before free agency, because he said, we're going to get a guy that we're comfortable with. We're going to lock him up, and we're going to have that. He'll be here. He'll be working out. He's got a great attitude.
Yep.
And we'll get, he'll be whatever. He's ready to go and ready to be in the system and learn whatever he didn't learn last year. And Belichick, I truly believe, thinks that he can make the playoffs with Cam Newton on this team.
Yeah, I think even you believe that now.
Well, it's so weird.
Curran said he's 4 wins better right now. So this is an 11-win team if Cam starts, according to Tom E. Curran, who you respect.
I love Tommy Curran. But the issue with Cam is just he was so bad. And he's such a nice guy to us. He was a great interview.
He wasn't that bad. I mean, he was 20th, 25th best quarterback in the league. You totally just ignore his running ability. You focus on a couple of bounce balls.
I wish I recorded our phone conversations from last winter when you were just destroying
awful,
the guy.
He had nobody. I mean, Wiggy said it all every day, and it got repetitive, but he had no weapons. At least now, they added 4 weapons. I'm not saying they're all going to be home runs, but they are much, much better.
Did you watch him last year? And the amount of effort it took him to go all the way back and chuck the ball 20
he's
yards.
He's throwing to N'Keal Harry, who's got to be so precise. I mean, if Jonnu Smith or Hunter Henry are open 5 yards down the field, I'm pretty confident Cam can get him the football.
You are not paying attention. The manner in which you throw has nothing to do with who you're throwing to. He threw the same way every game last year.
I don't want him to be the starter either, and he won't be the full part of the year. Belichick is telling you that. The contract was a backup deal, and they're either going to wait for Watson, wait for Jimmy G, or they're going to go up and get a quarterback.
If Caserio trades Watson, it's going to be the Patriots.
Oh, what a story that would be. All right, Stephen Fall Rivers starts us off on Ken and Curtis. Hi, Steve.
Good morning, gentlemen. How's everything going this morning?
All right, how are you?
Good. Chris, how's everything going this morning?
Lovely, Stephen. Beautiful day in the city of Boston.
Deal. Yes, I think you have to be very careful with Deshaun Watson as far as how much you give up for him. Forget his off-field problems. I heard that the Houston Texans were a disaster last year.
Yep.
They were 4-12. Wasn't Deshaun Watson part of that team?
He was.
Why did he get absolved for being on a 4-12 team when he was the quarterback on a 4-12 team?
I don't know. I saw him play last year against the Patriots. A couple other games. He's awesome.
The 2 years prior, he was 10-5 and 11-5. I mean, he threw for almost 5,000 yards.
Okay. There's no pause if this guy was on a team that was 4-12. I'm sure the Los Angeles Rams thought Jared Goff was great, and the Philadelphia Eagles thought Carson Wentz was great because they re-upped both of those guys.
Wow, so you don't think Watson's that good?
I didn't say that. I said he has a small sample size, and his sample size after 30 games, which is my rule, is not good. He's 4-12. I would not.
Steve, you can't compare. No, you go on forever. Steve, you can't compare Jared Goff and Deshaun Watson. That is
why not? Why not?
Because Deshaun Watson is 10 times the player.
Well, wait a minute. When they re-upped him, he already been to a Super Bowl, Jared Goff. Carson Wentz was supposedly on his way to be an MVP. These are the narratives when both teams said, we're going to re-up. So all I'm saying is about Deshaun Watson is he had a 4-12 season, which is a little bit of a caution. And if you want to give up 3 or 4 or all this draft capital, you've got to take a little pause for that. I see people just going right by the fact they were 4-12. And I'm sorry, this guy played in 16 games.
What would you give for him,
They
Steve?
should not have been 4-12. If he was an uplifting guy, they would not be 4-12. And he threw for 5,000 yards. When did he throw for the 5,000 yards?
Last year.
I didn't watch every game, but 4-12 should give anybody a little pause for giving the farm away on this guy. And he might be staying there and have another 4-12, and you tell me, and what are you going to tell me next year?
Well,
you won't pick the phone up with me?
The price is coming down, that's for sure. That's one. He's right about that, Curtis. If you're saying the pool is limited, could they get him for like 1 first?
No. I don't know. I mean,
if there's anything substantial in terms of evidence, it's going to come way down.
I mean, I'm just shaken by this analysis of Steve from Fall River.
I mean, he was the 12th. He was taken behind Trubisky that year. So some people didn't love him coming out of the draft.
Through 32 games, Peyton Manning was 16-16.
I mean, yeah, just the eyeball test watching him, he's a great.
You wasted one of your years. I'm sorry.
I mean, I don't doubt his talent. I guess Steve does. Danny and Quincy. What's up, Danny?
Well, I can't believe it. Steve from Fall River and I are agreeing on this. This was my call the Ordway show a few days ago. 4-12. Forget the legal stuff. I'm a case-by-case guy and an innocent until proven person, so let that go for now. How does a guy... You saw Curtis. We all saw him play against the Patriots. Unfortunately, he picked the Patriots to have his best game of his career. Okay, 4-12 with a better roster, and I guess it's all about the quarterback all the time with you, Curtis. How do you explain that?
The team was in total disarray. They changed coaches mid-season. You can clearly see there's a ton of stuff going on behind the scenes. They had a new owner. The kid took over for the dad. It's a disaster. And I think he probably checked out at some point, which isn't a great thing. But I watched him play last year, and he is awesome. Awesome.
How many games did you watch, Curtis?
17. I watched the one preseason game they didn't play.
You watched 17 Houston Texans games?
I'm a degenerate gambler. I always bet on Deshaun, so I'm out of money. I watched
him
him against the Patriots, and I probably saw him a couple times on Red Zone.
All right, so I guess you're the expert in Houston. I'll defer to you on that, man. But I'm not saying the kid's a bad quarterback, but my apprehension is, and you said he checked out, much like Mr. Brady, resting puss face Brady checked out on Belichick 3 years before he left last year, okay? I don't want that same thing happening with a guy who set precedent at age 25. This guy has the potential to go on strike if he's not happy with his surroundings. At least Brady waited 17 years to do that. This guy did it with Houston, and I don't know if I want that. And now if Belichick can change him and acclimate him to the Patriot, quote unquote, the Patriot way. I hate that term, but I had to use it for lack of a better word.
Yep.
Then fine. But I don't trust the guy.
All right,
and I'm not talking about legally. I'm talking about attitude-wise.
Danny, just a quick point here. The final 4 games where I said he checked out, I'm an idiot. He did not check out. The final 4 games, they lost all 4. His passer rating in those games was 102, 121, 134, and 116. So they lost 4 straight games with their quarterback with an over 100 passer rating.
The passer rating thing to me is a kind of I don't know.
So he had 9 touchdowns and 1 interception in the last 4 games, and they lost all 4.
All I know is this. Lamar Jackson was ahead of him in the curve in terms of winning championships. And then look what happened to Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson has regressed. And then we saw that one, at least I saw that one game against the Patriots where Deshaun Watson had a phenomenal game, arm strength, you name it. He single-handedly annihilated the Patriots, but I don't want to form my opinion on him coming here based on that one game.
He had a rushing touchdown in that game. He ran through Devin McCourty. It was unbelievable. I
understand that, okay? But, Curtis, last week, I just to get off topic, one thing. You said Tom Brady, Mr. Happy-Go-Lucky, loves everybody. He loves everybody except his enemies, except the people on his circle. The guy ended up being, he hates everybody that's not supportive of him. And that guy was dangerous. And you said, why couldn't they do it? Why couldn't they do
Aaron Hernandez was dangerous. Tom Brady is not dangerous, Danny.
I'm talking about dangerous for the psyche of the team. Okay, it was time for them to depart. You said, why couldn't Brady and Belichick combine their efforts to win a couple more? Well, they did. For 17 years, they did it. Isn't that enough for you?
Well, no, they never did it like this. Belichick had Brady for 2 decades, and he never had a free agent spending like this.
Go back and look at Bill Belichick's history, and every 3 years, he always reset and rebuilt the team according to like the way the league was, according to what their needs were. He's done it several times. The problem is you forget what happened the first the 15 or 10 years prior.
Correct.
Belichick has changed the concept of his philosophy many times in the 20 years.
Danny, in the last 21 years, you have never seen an offseason like this from Bill Belichick. And if you're saying you have, you are lying. And he's doing it for selfish reasons because he wants to get back on the stage with Brady. He was embarrassed last year that Brady won it all and that he didn't, and Linda was tweeting out mean things about Tom Brady. And this offseason, he's finally spending because it benefits him.
I'm glad you said all the characterization and the premises, and it's etched in stone. First of all, I am not a guy who is sitting here saying these signings were great. Talk to me at the end of the year. Talk to me at the end of the year, and we'll see whether or not they're great. And by the way, if this team fails after what they did this spring, and I firmly believe you'll be the first one trampling on Belichick with golf shoes. I guarantee you. Yep. You'll forget whatever you said about these signings, and you'll be on them like a friggin' you-know-what on what.
We've saved the audio. Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, save the audio, Ken. But here's the deal. I think Cam Newton eventually will be coming off the bench as a situational quarterback. He'll be one of those wildcat guys.
Taysom Hill. Love it.
Much like the Saints did with Breeze. He'll come off the bench, short yardage, goal line, maybe even a slot receiver.
Yeah, non-throwing plays would be great.
I'm sorry?
Non-throwing plays.
Yeah. Well, not only that, he's got to learn how to carry the ball so he doesn't fumble. He carries the friggin' ball. I wouldn't say like a loaf of bread, but when he fumbled against Buffalo, 2 plays before that, he had a 20-plus yard run, and he was carrying the ball in his forearm. And I called my friend, and I said, if he carries the ball like that, he's going to fumble. And sure enough, 2 plays later, he did.
Belichick's got to hire you. Quick note, Jimmy Garoppolo, how many games had he played when you thought he'd be better than Brady?
I never said he was going to be better than Brady.
How many games had he played when you wanted him to take over? Was it 30 games?
Yes, you remember that well. I did want him to take over because I thought it was time to move on and start thinking about the future.
But he hadn't played 30 games, so how can you say that?
Because the sample I had, he was tremendous.
Oh, okay.
There were no guarantees. The sample size that I had, he was tremendous.
Okay. No, that's you nailed them on that. Great point there. All right, up against it. Good call. Do you want Deshaun Watson? Steve and Danny say no. Not for on-field reasons.
Of all the calls today,
that is incredible.
I did not think anybody would say just on the football that they don't want Deshaun Watson. He is awesome.
Well, if 617-779-7937, text at 37937. Ben Volen at noon. Indiana Pacers reporter at 11. How close did it get with Brad Stevens leaving town? Maybe there's still a chance. But also, the signs this week do point to a rookie quarterback. I think you can really look at that. We'll discuss that quickly coming up.
You're listening to, and we're sorry, the Ken and Curtis Show on EEI.
I think the Patriots will address the quarterback spot in the draft. I think the Patriots are going to draft a quarterback, though, this year. I really do. And quote me on March 19th and then bring this quote back up on April, or I guess May 2nd to see how it looks. But I think there's a chance the Patriots will address quarterback in the draft. Now, at 15, you're in a bit of a rock and a hard place, right? It's who's going to be available at pick 15. And the answer is probably not the 5 quarterbacks we've been talking about the most in this draft class, I would think. I would think that those 5 probably are not available, but who knows? So the question is, are you moving up in the draft? Or are you moving, not back, but are you addressing quarterback in the second round or the third round with other players coming off the board? As an example, Kyle Trask from Florida. Not saying he's perfect. I'm just mentioning him as a name that I think will go off the board somewhere in that range.
That's Field Yates on our new show, Gresh and Keefe, 10 to 2 weekdays. This is Ken and Curtis, the inmates running your Saturday asylum until 1 o'clock. Ben Volen at noon with his football hour. They're moving up. The evidence this week says they are going for it. Belichick's desperate. I don't say desperate's the wrong word, but he is all in. That is clear. Tom E. Curran nailed it, right? Uncharacteristically aggressive.
What is more stunning, the fact that they have spent all this money or that they told people they were going to do it and they still did it?
Totally. I mean, maybe part of that was tactical, to just let free agents know we're coming out to brace them for it, right? To be ready. I mean, there was definitely a PR element to that, and the Patriots, Belichick at least, generally doesn't do that unless there's a tactical edge to doing it. So maybe they started to put the feelers out months ago, legally or illegally. But Is it too simple to say this, Curtis? Here's evidence this week that they're going to trade up for a quarterback. Number one, they spent a ton of money on free agents because they know they've got a rookie quarterback contract that's going to slot in, and those are generally cheap and affordable for several years. That's the plan, right? The plan is Cam for $5 million as a backup or as a bridge till the rookie quarterback gets ready, and their number one QB is going to be very affordable. And two, they now have all these positions that they had needs for taken care of, so you don't need all these picks. You've got all this draft ammo. You can spend it because you just got 3-4 linebackers, D linemen in. You no longer have to address that in the draft. Isn't that obvious evidence they're going to trade up for a guy?
Yeah, and to add on to that point, there was no combine. There was really limited college football this season. Bill Belichick has been taking on a bunch of roles. He just brought in a new guy. He lost his personnel guy in Caserio. He brings in Ziegler. So in my opinion, I believe that Bill is looking at this like it's a crapshoot the rest of the draft. Let's use those picks as capital to get a quarterback that we know we like.
Yep. And I don't know which of the 4 quarterbacks, forget about Mac Jones now. I think you're talking about the other guys. Zach Wilson, maybe he goes second to the Jets. Then you're left with Trey Lance or Justin Fields. Are either of those like perfect Belichick fits? I don't think necessarily, because Fields is a little erratic, but he is a good runner. He's in the Cam Newton sort of mold, not to be simplistic about it. Lance, I don't know. I mean, he's played one game in the last 2 years, but
I got stuck down a rabbit hole of Zach Wilson pro day highlights in different games. You know, you see like a 30-second clip.
Yeah.
I finished it. I was like, this guy's better than Brady. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life.
But he's like a gunslinger rolling out. He's like a Kyler Murray, right?
He reminds me a little bit of a Andrew Luck.
Okay.
He'll quit after 3 years.
Either way, whoever it is, Pats fans would be excited. They'd be all in. I mean, you go up and get a quarterback plus this free agency, even you would be watching games. And
absolutely.
I don't even be rooting for them.
Do you agree that you think Bill might not view this draft like he has past drafts?
Totally. That makes sense. And I think in terms of Watson and Jimmy G, I really thought that was the plan, but maybe Bill is just like, there's no guarantee they're getting shopped. We just don't know. And he might have to wait another year for Jimmy.
And despite their issues at the end, Tom Brady's greatest attribute, on top of being the greatest of all time, was that he never missed games. And to have a guy like Jimmy G, even back then, we forget, but Zoe and others were pretty critical that Jimmy G couldn't return from that shoulder injury in those next 2 games, and they had to bring in Brissett. They kind of questioned his durability then, and then he's gone to San Francisco. In his one healthy year, goes to a Super Bowl, could have won it, but he's not exactly the most reliable guy, and I think that might hurt Bill.
What is a stunner, though? We had some calls here in this hour of Ken and Curtis of people saying they don't want Watson for his on-field stuff. Now, this text, I think, is a good one, 207. Here's my biggest problem with Watson, his behavior with his team. He's under contract. If he does that to her, why don't you think he'll do that to you?
I can't imagine that Bill views Deshaun as... Bill's got to have a pretty good feeling about the guy in order to trade for him and bring him in, and I just don't see... It's one thing to do that to Cal McNair and to David Colley, whoever the coach is right now with the Texans. It's another to do it to Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft.
Yeah, I
2
don't
guys
think they'd tolerate it.
They would not tolerate it, and the rest of the league, you'd have Louis Riddick, you'd have all of these analysts across the country being like, you don't do this to Bill Belichick. What are you doing? You know, I think that there'd be more pushback.
But would they have to, like, let's say a month from now, the cases settle or they sort of go away, whatever, and Watson has to waive the no-trade clause. Would the Patriots say to Deshaun, hey, we know you want some say in the organization. We're going to give that to you.
No way.
I can't see that either. So I don't know.
But if Bill really wants to twist it to Brady, that would be an all-timer. That he brings him to Deshaun and gives him final say.
Have a press conference talking about how much we want.
Hey, Deshaun, what should we do at pick 32 here?
Mike Reese saying we've opened our world to him. Justin in New Hampshire on Ken and Curtis. Hi, Justin.
Hey, guys. I just wanted to talk about dropping back in the draft, dropping back out of 15 to get like a David Mills. Pocket passers have been big. Like Brady is a pocket passer. Everybody's going to the running QB, but has there really been a point yet that makes a big difference in offense?
So you're talking about the Stanford quarterback, Davis Mills?
Yeah. His pro day was awesome.
Oh, was it?
Especially in the rain.
Interesting. Where's he projected to go?
He's probably like a second or third round pick. So I'm thinking if you drop down out of 15, get a second or third or whatever you can get more draft picks because we know Belichick likes to drop out of first round. to get more picks and get more people. But David Mills would probably be perfect for this team.
I mean, maybe Kellen Mond is another name that people keep bringing up. So I guess, I mean, if that's the guy Bill loves, I mean, as we know, Brady, you say it all the time, where he was picked, doesn't have to be a first rounder, but
I've never heard of that person in my life. So.
I can't say I know Davis Mills either, but
he was projected to be around a first-round pick, and then he destroyed his knee.
But he had a good pro day?
Oh, he could be a good quarterback, but he's now a day 2 or 3 guy.
Well, I mean, bottom line is they're going to take a quarterback. That's going to happen because whoever they have on the roster. But
they already have one crappy late-day quarterback on the roster, and Jarrett Stidham. So
let's go to Mike in Wakefield. Hi, Mike.
Man, I feel like Scott from Weymouth. I have like 5 things to talk about right now.
Good.
But, well, so first of all, I would say that I'm okay with them taking a quarterback in the first or second round, even third round. Somebody that Bill believes he can mold into the quarterback that he wants for the future. I feel like they've really built the team to be a run-first offense. And obviously, with coming up with the defense, I think that they're almost set there. In fact, if I was Bill, I would take Micah Parsons at 15, and then I would draft a quarterback after that. But the reason why I called, excuse me, I have people close to me that have been victims of sexual assault for Deshaun, like this whole Deshaun Watson thing.
Yep.
But to me, it really, and I hate to say this, but it really reads conspiracy. I mean, if you look at what's been going on, right? Deshaun Watson says he wants out. He doesn't like the fact that he's not included in the decisions going towards the franchise, right? He feels like he's ignored from the owner, he's ignored from management. He wants out. Now, all of a sudden, one woman turns into 22 in a matter of a week. Now, again, I would never disparage a woman who's a victim of sexual assault because I am familiar with what that entails. But it looks a little bit sketchy as you start hearing all these different things going on, that it's the good old boys in Texas owning the team, Texas quarterback, black quarterback, wants out. Now, all of a sudden, we're going to muddy up his name so he's forced to stay with us. Or,
so why did those same people hire an African American to coach their team?
Well, to make it look good.
Oh,
why wouldn't you?
I don't know. You say if they're racist, I guess they wouldn't.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, but Curtis, if you know that the racial backlash is going to come at you, what's a good tool? I'm going to hire a black coach to make it look good. Oh, I like black people. Yeah, I'm going to hire a black coach. You know, like it's just it just muddies the waters in their defense. Like.
I mean, the caller's right about this, Curtis. Doesn't it feel the whole operation from this guy, Tony Busby, sketchy was the word the caller used, conspiracy, I don't know. It's possible, I guess. Doesn't it feel weird?
Sounds like Hillary Clinton in 92.
No. But, like, this is Better Call Saul. This guy's right out of some kind of, like, a fictional lawyer TV show. I know you don't want to talk about the lawyer, but you have to. How can you not?
Well, yes, I said
it's not about money. He doesn't know Hal McNair, even though he lives next door to him, and it's it's just.
So you're taking the word of a guy who signed a contract with an organization that had already been transferred over to this Cal McNair.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And he in September 5th,
but they did him dirty. I mean,
September
they traded Hopkins, and it was a mess. By your own admission, the Texans were a mess.
Hopkins was traded a year prior.
Yep.
So he signed this contract where he was crying.
Yeah, but sometimes it takes a while to realize what has been done to you.
So you don't think about what's been done to you before you sign a 5-year extension to play at a place?
The money he went for the money. It was a good contract.
So then he signed it for the money.
Yep.
And he held his nose about the people he was going to be working for. And now that the team isn't very good, and he's got this new world order, in part you blame Tom Brady for this, where he feels that he can control things that he didn't before.
Correct.
And he's saying, I want more money again. In my opinion, that's someone who did something that is not very honest. It's sort of cowardly if you sign a deal and then months later you don't want to be a part of it anymore.
Perfect. I mean, I don't love that stuff about it either. But
why do we talk about the lawyers? Why do we talk about the lawyer's character and not his?
I think we should. I think you're right. You make a good point. But if that's all you got on Watson, you said it yourself. Belichick would not allow him to come in here and be a guy who's squawking for say in the organization. That's just not going to happen. All right, hour 2, Ken and Curtis. There were a ton of reviews of the Patriots. How many moves? 11 free agents signed this week? 12? I don't know. I lost count at some point.
Insane. Unprecedented.
Some of the reviews were not very good, actually. If you break them down individual signing by signing, I won't bore you like with deep dives into tackles, but I do want to read just some of the letter grades that this guy from The Athletic gave some of these picks. Not very good.
Uh-oh.
That's maybe ammo for you. But either way, we're talking about Belichick and the week that was. Does he deserve some credit? It's Ken and Curtis.